Howdy do, y'all. This is John, and today we are talking about The Conjuring Last Rites, a new movie out in theaters right now. And in The Conjuring Last Rites, it deals with Ed and Lorraine Warren, who are trying to retire in peace after decades of being demonologists. And all of a sudden, they're getting thrown this new case called the Smurl Haunting. And, even after all of the experience that they've had, they were ill prepared for this case, and supposedly, this ain't entirely actually true, supposedly this was their final case they ever took, and thus we have our movie. And by the way, I say supposedly because it really wasn't their final case. They did assist some of the interns that they had, who went on to become paranormal researchers themselves, including their nephew John Zaffis. However, in terms of full-blown cases they investigated themselves, yeah, this was definitely one of their last ones. But anyway, getting into the movie. So, how was it? Yeah, it ain't nowhere near as good as the first two. First and foremost, give credit where credit's due. The acting's good all around. Patrick Wilson, Vera Farmiga as Ed and Lorraine Warren. These two have been knocking it out of the park since the first movie. This movie's no exception. These two feel like they're characters. And, the actors who portray the Smurls, they're not bad either. The actress playing their daughter, Judy, she's not bad either. If anything, the actress playing Judy's probably, the best new performer in the movie. They recasted her for some reason. I think it was so that, they had a performer that could do a bit more than the last one. And in terms of the visual look of the movie, they do also do everything right with, visually speaking, how a horror movie about a haunted house should look. There's a lot of dark rooms, it's very heavy on the shadows, and for the most part, the ghosts, the demons, are kept out of focus or out of shot. There are times when you do see them. It's usually like a blink and miss situation. However, when you do, the movie doesn't ever really have a heavy focus on them. And also the music of the movie. When I heard Benjamin Wallfisch was replacing Joseph Bishara, I thought that was a stupid idea. However, it turns out to actually not be a bad idea. Because Ben, his music was still just as strong as Bishara's music. Caught me off guard a little bit, and, Bishara's influence from the first three Conjuring movies was definitely heard in this one, but still, very noticeably Wallfisch's music, and it was still just as strong as what Bishara was doing with the previous three movies. Now, on to what I don't like about the movie. When it came to the Smurls, that family was not as strongly developed as the families in the first two movies, especially the Perrin family. Those families, while you don't always know every individual's name, you at least cared about their plight and understood, these families did not deserve this situation in any way, shape, or form. They did not ask for this. They did not want this. The Smurls, you just don't care about them. And that is very unfortunate because you're supposed to care about them. You're supposed to care about them. You're supposed to care about their plight. And, you're just sitting there why does this matter? Another thing worth noting is the demon itself. I don't know the demon's name. I don't know if they ever really revealed it. But this demon is not Bathsheba in the first movie or Valak in the second movie, where it leaves a mark on you. This demon is just not as intimidating of a presence as those two were in the first movie. You're just sitting there looking at this demon, looking at what it's doing, and you're just like, I can take you on, instead of with Bathsheba and Valak, where you're just sitting there going, I am staying away from you. Film also at one point surprisingly got a bit gory, and it mainly had to do with like a flashback thing with one of the ghosts. However, it's very cartoonish. It's very cartoonish. There was way more blood coming out than there should have been, and it damages the horror effect rather than helps it. And that's because of the fact that it's cartoonish. You don't add cartoonish blood and gore to a horror movie and expect it to be scary, because really it's not. And at the end of the day, I was just a bit more bored rather than entertained. I was bored. I just didn't care at that point. And when the movie ended, I was just sitting there going, well, this is the end of an era. I wish it was better. Because, guys, at the end of the day, The Conjuring Last Rites, I am glad that the, series is now over. At least the main Conjuring movies. Because ever since James Wan left, these movies just haven't been that strong. I'll give credit where credit's due to the actors, Wally Fisher's music, and the cinematography. But at the end of the day, the Conjuring movies started off as these very intense movies that didn't rely heavily on blood and gore, and were horror movies that earned a R rating for just being scary. At this point, they're just generic horror movies that don't mean what they used to mean. Obviously, we still have to deal with the spin-offs like The Nun and Annabelle. I'm pretty sure they're making more of those movies. However, as far as, the main Conjuring films go, I've been told this is the last one they're doing. I wish, James Wan had never left. That way it would end on a stronger note than it did. I'm going to give The Conjuring Last Rites a 3. Well, that's all the time I have for today. Please look forward to more videos real soon. Please hit the like button if you enjoyed this video. Please also subscribe if you're new to the channel. And don't forget, I have a secondary channel where I do gaming content. Please go check out. And as always, please remember, the Brodetsky will return.